Hello and welcome. I'm glad to have you here. My name is Dorothee Racette, and I have been working as a freelance translator for close to 30 years. It's been a great run. As many of you know, my work over the past years has focused on something different. I've been working in the area of productivity and achieving goals. I see it as a contribution to elevating the entire profession and to helping other people enjoy similar careers. What I want to explore with you today is growth mindset, a way to use perspectives to your best advantage. The worksheet I have created for today's presentation contains specific action steps. You can find more information in my Power Pack for this conference and on my website at Take Back My Day. Everyone sees the world through their own lens. Our own experiences and the way we interpret them are called perspectives. They impact our personal growth, our business prospects, and the way we address life and business in different stages. In today's presentation, I want to introduce you to the concept of growth mindset. It was pioneered by a sociologist called Carol Dweck, who also coined the term. Here's a brief overview of what we will cover in the next 20 minutes. We will take a closer look at the Eisenhower Matrix and then delve into 3 different aspects of growth mindset. In the end, I will briefly talk about the worksheet and other resources. So let's jump right in. This table probably looks familiar. It is called the Eisenhower Matrix and draws distinctions between urgent and important tasks. Urgent tasks require short-term, immediate action, while important tasks tend to be of the long-term variety that is much harder to pursue and complete. As you can see, the chart makes distinctions between 4 different combinations or quadrants. We live in a fast-paced society, and as freelancers, we are used to dealing with tight deadlines. So you probably spend much of your time in the urgent quadrant in the upper left. That may mean that there isn't enough time and energy to pursue the important quadrant, which is highlighted here in red in the upper right corner. When I speak to freelancers, it often turns out that they are lagging behind in the work that is most important for their business, primarily the projects that you see listed here. These long-term tasks are not getting the attention they need because of constant distractions and focus on urgent matters. So if you recognize yourself in some of these, take note. We'll come back to that in a little bit. The design of the Eisenhower Matrix is actually a little misleading because of its neat breakdown into 4 equally sized quadrants. When we look at the time spent and the work focus in a typical day, the Eisenhower Matrix would look a lot more like this. As you can see, most of our attention is focused on urgent projects, and the important things we talked about are not getting the attention they need. What is even more significant for business development is this. Look how the different components of the matrix stack up in terms of profitability. Long-term projects, the important things on our plate, are associated with the greatest business growth and profitability. You can certainly make some money with your urgent projects and your day-to-day business, but having an efficient marketing outreach, a powerful website, and functioning tools can do so much more for your business. The third category of attending to non-important, non-urgent business is an almost irrelevant third in terms of monetary impact. So that's something to watch in your daily routine. When I started researching the complex issue of long-term goals, I came across a body of conventional thinking that is prevalent in self-help books and popular media articles. The prevailing notion is that to address long-term projects, one simply has to make time. I hear this point of view expressed all the time. There's this widespread belief that if only we found the time, we would address the long-term issues. But if you just spend months in lockdown at home and you still don't have a proper website, you know that this theory is flawed. People often tell me that they need to build habits and they want tips for quick fixes so they can finally move along. What I discovered in my work is not always a popular smash hit in a world that wants quick fixes. I'm a strong believer that the solution lies in a change of perspective. It lies in looking at things in a profoundly different way to make progress and to break out of our habitual thinking. And today I want to show you what I mean by that. Let's start with challenges. I am sure you have had many conversations with others to bemoan how difficult it is to work as a freelancer, to find work and to stay on top of everything you have to do to prevail in the marketplace. The challenges you most likely encounter include breaking into new subject areas, keeping up with new technologies, and learning the work processes of specific portals. Those challenges can seem so overwhelming that it's difficult to know where to start. And the easiest thing to do sometimes can be to simply continue in your current mode, accepting project after project, even though the work may be poorly paid or not as rewarding as you would like it to be. When we assume a growth mindset, those challenges can be turned into opportunities. Of course, the market changes. Subject areas that were highly lucrative 20 years ago have become obsolete. That means we as linguists need to constantly adapt to new demands and new discussions to remain relevant in our marketplace. Being knowledgeable about specific and relevant subject areas is your expertise. Experts don't acquire their knowledge overnight. They study, they read pertinent publications, they engage in peer discussions, and they strive to understand what is happening in specific fields. The same goes for technology. Of course, technology changes. Part of running a successful business is to stay on top of technical developments, which offers productivity gains and options for cooperation. A person with a fixed mindset would argue that they bought a perfectly good CAT tool a few years ago, so why would there be any need to upgrade it? The answer is that technology continues to evolve and offers new opportunities. Many of us have seen profound changes in our project volume over the past years. Having a diversified income stream is more relevant than ever for freelancers. Accordingly, new work models and modern approaches to translation and interpreting are not, as one might assume with a fixed mindset, newfangled stuff to do the same old thing, but they actually offer new opportunities. For example, many colleagues are now offering copywriting services in addition to translation to leverage their subject matter knowledge. In your worksheet, you will find a space to make a few notes about subject areas, technologies, and work approaches you'd like to explore. The second aspect of growth mindset has to do with errors and mistakes. When we try to be perfect, there's no room for errors. But how are we going to learn if we're not making mistakes? It's easy to see rejections of your marketing efforts or the radio silence you encounter when you send out multiple applications and hear nothing back as failures. Receiving criticism and feedback creates the impression that there are quality problems with your work, which can be really discouraging. You may also have been a bit too brash in assuming you can handle a specific subject area and receive negative feedback. That happens. It may sound counterintuitive, but making mistakes and failures are actually the key to professional growth. I've included here a quote from the author J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. She has a story of having submitted this manuscript, this super successful book series. Her first manuscript, she had to submit it to 37 different publishing houses before someone was willing to take a look at it. So she is someone who has experienced this failure firsthand. And she says, we speak about success all the time, but it's the ability to resist or use failure that often leads to greater success. What an interesting insight. We learn a lot more when things don't go our way. So when we look at those presumed failures and turn them into lessons learned, we get strategies to improve our marketing outreach, feedback on quality problems that can be extremely valuable to improve your own game, something to improve how you work so you can deliver a better product. There isn't always feedback on our work because of the fast-paced nature of the T&I industry. So any kind of feedback is valuable and an opportunity to improve. In a fixed mindset, you can arrive at the belief that you are the only person struggling with quality problems and that you therefore have to keep them hidden. But that couldn't be further from the truth. The fact is that there are numerous learning communities and ways to connect with other translators and interpreters, including lots of free and inexpensive resources. Continuous learning has to be one of the hallmarks of our business. Translators and interpreters with outdated knowledge will be hard-pressed to seek new opportunities. So the lessons learned are a way to turn your ideas, your own perspectives of what it means to be receiving feedback into something very different. The third aspect of growth mindset I want to discuss with you today has to do with looking at other people's success, at your competitors. I've seen a lot of online posts recently that express frustration, saying how hard it is to become established as a full-time translator. And there's this perspective that other people, those competitors, they're mythical creatures, and there are reasons why those people do better. And you can see those here in this slide. You can hear that expressed in a lot of discussions. Those people are part of an existing network. They are much more qualified. They are an elite, and there's nothing that you as the little person can do about that. And remarkably, those statements often come from people who haven't tried very hard to emulate those successful linguists. It isn't that they couldn't achieve their dream. The issue is more that they haven't even started the process. So I'd encourage you, if you're stuck in perspectives like that about your competition or your own ability to succeed, to re-examine that and take a different look at that. Here's the opposite perspective you can assume. In a growth mindset, you'd be looking at that differently. My experience has been that the T&I industry, by and large, is a sharing, really generous place. The people who have enjoyed success are happy to share what they know. You can follow them. You can seek them out and ask their advice. You can join the discussion. Many organizations have mentoring programs and forums to help newcomers. When we look at other people's success as an inspiration and use them as role models, we break out of that us versus them, black and white thinking that is holding back success. The new ATA Mastermind program is a good example. It brought in a record number of participants and will again be offered next year. So instead of the conventional model I showed you earlier, remember about making time? My thought is that growth-minded thinking is based on the understanding that effort must be invested. You don't have to make time, you need to invest time. Those investments must consist of studying the market, of continuous learning, and of building effective networks. All of those actions are part of everyday working reality. If I've learned anything at all over the last 30 years, it's this: there are no quick fixes. There are no geniuses. And there's always more to learn. Here's a quote from Carol Dweck on effort from her own theory. Effort means you care about something, that something is so important that you are willing to work on it. That sums up the essence of growth mindset right there. Completing long-term projects is hard, I get that. Thinking far into the future is difficult. So my work consists of helping word people find the solutions they need to create profitable careers, of thinking into the future for their own careers. Here are a few places where you can catch up with me. Here are a few places where you can catch up with me this fall. I will speak at the ATA conference in Minneapolis on big goals. I will have a month-long challenge group on profitable habits through training for translators in November. And my next accountability and coaching program, called Complete What You Started, begins in December. You can find more information at my website at takebackmyday.com. And here is a sneak preview of the power pack I put together for this event. It's an excerpt from my book with action items and planning suggestions. Thank you so much, and I look forward to connecting with you.